last couple of years, though. We got to catch up in 2019 when you left Interscope. You kind of accidentally ended up at Interscope, and
Yeah,
you were ready to come back to being an independent artist. How has that shift been for you in the last year?
I had a kind of rough like situation with the label and was able to get out of that, and it was really nice to just kind of be have that freedom to work on music without people trying to tell me what they did or didn't like about it.
Yeah.
And I guess just like thinking more about like what I wanted to do, and yeah, I mean, labels can be great, and I think the label I was on was great at the time. It's just like a matter of like sometimes things don't work out, but yeah, I've been really happy to release music more frequently. That's something that I'm able to do now, and recently, obviously, I've joined with a more like a label that makes more sense for me is like Moving Castle.
Yeah, totally. Your sound fits right in there. And they seem like nice guys.
Oh, totally.
That's so cool. And Closer to You, we talked about the song itself, but it's a 4-track EP, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to me about the rest of the songs. Were all the songs made in quarantine, or some of them you've been working on for a while, right?
Yeah, so some of these, like the Somewhere has been in the works for a while, and the other ones as well. I mean, it really all depends. Like, I think that I worked on a lot of these ideas, even started like 2 years ago, and just kind of through the process of picking which songs might fit, like, decided that they would. Like the track Somewhere with Woven and Hiatus and Shalou, that is something that when we went on tour, Shalou and I, we talked about making this song, and we were able to kind of rework something he had worked on and woven it on, and that's been a long process, and to get it out this year was awesome. And yeah, the other tracks, I think Heartbeat, Helicopter, I made this year as well. And yeah, I guess all these tracks, besides Somewhere, I made this year, but a little bit before, like, the world fell apart, I guess.
Right, yeah. And speaking of the world falling apart, I read that you are working on a new album, the working title for which, at least, is, what is it? It's The End of the World, but It's Okay? Something like that.
Yeah, so actually, like, that had been the working title for all this music for a while, so this EP actually will end up being a part of that album,
Cool.
Which is coming out in parts. I released Home earlier this year as well.
Oh, is that going to be part of it as well?
Yeah, and thematically, I mean, planned like 2 years ago. The theme is like kind of a post-apocalyptic type of thing, but like an optimistic twist where, you know, it's like everything's like kind of in ruins, but there's like some optimism in just like being with the people that are left and like finding the good in that, and just like realizing that we'll get through anything somehow.
I feel that. And now here we find ourselves trapped inside for months on end because people don't want to wear a mask. You're dropping these jams just in time. We need the hope. We need the hopeful melodies.
Definitely, yeah. It became way more topical than we ever had hoped.
I know. But I actually want to thank you for taking that sort of approach. You know, I think apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic themes, they've been prevalent in our culture centuries before the place we find ourselves today. But the fact that you choose to put an optimistic spin on it is really interesting. And I think that it feeds well into the artistic narrative that you've presented for nearly a decade. Like, where is the wellspring of hope inside you? Where does that come from, and what moves you through each day to create a music with a message like that? If you're there.
I guess, can you hear me?
I can hear you now,
Can you hear
yeah.
You stumped me and the internet.
Yeah, right?
So, I think that, thanks for saying that. I think that's good to hear. And I think that it's not always intentional or completely planned, but I think that, in the last 10 years, I've had ups and downs. I've had bad times, good times. And I think that's something that I've always been kind of drawn to or maybe not drawn to dark themed things and just for no reason. Obviously there's a really valid place for intense or dark art, but I think that I've always just been more interested in escapism and things that kind of can remind you of the good things. And I don't know, I've always liked songs or art that transports you to a better place,
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I'd say throughout the career, I met my wife, and she's been a huge inspiration and changed my life, and we've been able to travel the world together.
That's so wonderful. You're so fortunate.
This project, and I think travel and nature and just those types of things are always inspiring to me.
Yeah, I love your performances, especially when they are in a more intimate setting, because you get the crowd involved. You give people the drums and have them start banging away. How did that first start happening? Did that happen at your first show, or is that something that evolved?
Yeah, I've always been interested in breaking down the wall between the crowd and the performer.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt it was kind of phony for DJs, especially, to be 50 feet away from the front of the stage, hiding behind a big booth. But I feel I was inspired by a lot of the type of music and concerts I went to growing up, hardcore bands and punk shows, and DIY kind of stuff. There was always that close element, and bands would the singer would jump into the crowd, and just I was felt more like being with the band.
Totally.
And, it's just evolved for me over the years, kind of by accident. The first show, I've told this story, but maybe it was my third show ever. My computer just died right before my show, and I luckily had all my songs on the iPod.
Nice.
I borrowed a drum from the opening band who I was friends with, and I just put the drum out, told the sound guy to play the songs, and I just drummed along in the middle of the crowd the whole show. And it just kind of was a moment of clarity where I knew that I should do that.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's so sick. I love that. And I love hearing that you were into hardcore and DIY punk. What were some of those bands that you were listening to? And is that how you got into... drums are so prevalent in your music, so I guess it makes sense that that's your background. But, what were you listening to? What shows were you going to?
Yeah, I played drums, mostly in bands and stuff. And that was kind of my instrument of choice. And I just went on a deep nostalgia dive the other day. I think that some of the real standout bands would be Taking Back Sunday, The Fall of Troy was huge, type of thing that I went to their show a bunch of times. They're very intense, and those are some standouts.
We're getting Finch shout outs. Were you into Finch?
Oh yeah, Finch.
That's
super
cool.
Good band.
I feel like I'm totally 100% with you. That sort of atmosphere and environment is what I miss when you're in this EDM world, when it gets a little too clean and a little too I don't know. I like fuck it up. Everyone get in the pit together and dance and beat drums and I don't know. One day we'll all get together again.
There's like a chaos that I think my show always has, for better or worse, that I think I was always interested in back then. Like something going wrong, but ending up more fun because of it.
Do you have any other